The story you're about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts about historical characters, events, or locations. Please sit back and listen as I narrate this story to you. The Bahala Na Gang, one of the oldest and largest Filipino gangs, was founded among inmates in the Philippines' notorious jails in the early 1940s and eventually expanded its operations throughout the world. Certified members are known to proudly display tattoos of a question mark, while minor members are known to proudly display a single tattoo of a ball on their left hand. Older members have prison-made tattoos of a snake and a dagger with the gang's initials, or a rabbit that resembles Bugs Bunny but looks mangled and high and has a floppy right ear. Due to the gang's involvement in drug trafficking, murder, carjacking, kidnapping, and other various crimes, Bahala Na is known as one of the most infamous gangs in the Philippines. The Bahala Na Gang, or BNG, is a street gang founded in the Philippines which subsequently spread to the United States. Divino Talastas, a native of Bulacan who was born in the early 1920s and later moved to Sampaloc with his siblings, founded the Bahala Na Gang in the early 1940s in Sampaloc, Manila, Philippines. Divino had a brother known as Emong, who at the age of 13 to 14 was the most feared in the area, known for his fighting ability, and was notorious for targeting and killing police officers. This stemmed from his early run-ins with the law when he was arrested and tortured, including the use of electricity on his genitals, supposedly to secure his conviction. When Emong was released, he quickly became the police's number one target, and a wave of murders and terror ensued. However, authorities eventually tracked him down and shot him dead at the age of 15. A 5-year-old half-brother saw how his dead brother's body moved while gunshots continued to hit the dead body. Emong's siblings, including Divino or Diving, as he was known in the area, would be affected by the event. Following Emong's death, there was a territorial power struggle over who would lead. The Sige Gang attempted to seize control. This was the heyday of Philippine street gangs. Divine formed the Bahala Na Gang to compete with the existing Sige Gang, naming it after the existing nightclub in Sampaloc, the Bahala Na Bar, a popular hangout for tough guys in the neighborhood. This is where Divine established a reputation for his fighting prowess. Divine was only 5'6" and quiet, with a soft, pleasant face, but he was well known for his fighting skills, even against many men. He earned the respect of the criminal gang. The first members were hardcore street fighters who were loyal to Emong. Their main goal was to protect them from other gangs' terror. The gang grew, and by the end, many of its members were involved in a variety of criminal activities. Diving himself was a frequent visitor to Iwahig prison, where he held the position of mayor among the inmates. Diving himself told his story to a few people he knew in his old age before dying. After being abducted, he died in the early 1980s, and his body was later discovered inside a sack floating in a river. There was evidence of torture, and he most likely died slowly and painfully, believed to be in connection with some kind of unfinished business he did for one influential person of power. After the deaths of the original founders, the gang continued to gain notoriety. In the 1960s, the gang established homes and territories in various Philippine prisons, including New Bilibid Prison and the Bureau of Corrections. Roberto Monreal, a Bahala Na Gang member, was murdered on July 10, 1961, after being cornered in the Manila City Jail by criminals Ramon Contreras Narciso, Elias Bernardino Gloria, Francisco Garcia Celso, and Rufino Guevara Pea. Arturo Forcuna, also known as Boy Golden, a notorious BNG member, rose to prominence during this decade. In order to survive the violence inside the Manila City Jail, Forcuna was forced to join the gang. In the 1960s, he became infamous for his frequent clashes with rival gangs such as the Sige Gang, surviving a beating with makeshift weapons from numerous members of the latter at one point. At this point, the Bahala Na Gang's violent culture was becoming more widely documented by law enforcement and journalists. The literal translation of this gang's name, come what may, indicates its orientation. The Bahalanas appeared to be the least organized and bound by the fewest rules, other than loyalty of the four gangs. These gang members, who were almost psychopathic in nature, were constantly referring to thrill killings or raiding rivals for the hell of it. The conflict extends beyond the rival gang's borders, and violence may be directed at the nearest person, whoever he may be. There was no explanation for this behavior other than life was hopeless and that it didn't matter what one did if fate was against you. The Filipino value of fatalism was nowhere more visible in the jail than among the Bahala Na members interviewed. The Bahala Na Gang grew in popularity among Filipino immigrant communities in the United States, particularly in California. Bahala Na Gang set sprouted up in the San Diego, Los Angeles, San Jose, San Francisco Bay Area, Stockton, Sacramento, and Las Vegas areas of California and Nevada. Older members are typically in their 50s and make up most of the organization's membership. Younger members, on the other hand, are more likely to commit violent acts in order to prove themselves, and they frequently form the backbone of the gang's drug and weapons trafficking operations. A gang fight involving a dozen BNG members at a taco stand in the summer of 1990 killed 2 people and injured 5 others. The suspects were charged with 29 counts of murder, attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, chaos, conspiracy, battery, and other crimes totaling 348 criminal counts, making this one of the most serious murder cases in California history. In July 2007, BNG members Matthew N. Anderson, Jason R. Rodriguez, and William K. Taylor attacked and nearly mutilated a 15-year-old boy in a well-publicized case involving the gang. The brawl began when the victim insulted the gang on social media, prompting the 3, along with another accomplice, to confront the boy. The teens hacked the boy multiple times with a bolo knife, severing his arm almost all the way to the bone. According to reports, this was also an initiation ceremony for the young people to become full members of the gang. The child survived, and the 3 members of the BNG were charged with malicious wounding. Since President Rodrigo Duterte launched his drug war in 2016, the Bahala Na Gang has emerged as one of the most sought-after criminal organizations in the conflict. On August 17, 2017, 25 people were killed in separate police shootouts and drug busts, one of whom was a gang member. Neo Bakay, a member, was apprehended in a buy-bust operation in Quezon City in 2017. He was found guilty of illegally selling shabu or methamphetamine. After a tip and careful surveillance, the Manila Police District apprehended BNG member Crisanto Magadatu in Sampaloc, Manila in 2018. During the raid, a packet of shabu and a .38 caliber revolver were discovered on him. On April 18, 2019, a gang member was also gunned down in a Manila street. In June 2020, gang members Robert Marmolyabot and Raymart Marmolyabot were apprehended in a buy-bust operation with Sputnik gang members. In late October 2020, 2 more members, Gerald Agustin and May Junio, were apprehended for 3 sachets of shabu worth 81,600 pesos. In 2021, officials in Santa Clara believe they have solved a cold case that occurred on Halloween 20 years ago. Members of the Bahala Na Gang, Eutropio Dagaray, Francis Dagaray, and accomplice Gilbert Meliales were looking for vengeance on October 31, 2001 after Meliales had been beaten up earlier in the evening, according to police. Police say they found Nin Fija, 22 years old, and a friend outside of an apartment building on Avalani Drive and attacked them while wearing face paint and wielding butterfly knives and broomsticks. He was killed by a stab wound. The other man was seriously injured, but he survived. The survivor's brother dashed down the stairs and threw a kitchen knife at the suspect's SUV, striking it as it drove away. A balisong knife was discovered on the scene. Earlier in 2021, the case was reopened and investigators were able to compile incriminating statements from now cooperative witnesses, as well as numerous Facebook postings by the suspects identifying themselves as members of the BNG. If convicted of their murder charges, the suspects, who are now in their 40s, face life in prison. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took time out of your day to listen to my narration. This is Nikki of Twysted Mind, and I'd like to wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Salamat.